This video, I won't call it a review, I'm going to call it an overview of serious tandem trikes for serious tandem pilots.
I wonder, why did I agree to fly with Gaio? I think I just found myself. Oh,
Oh yeah!
well, I'm gonna drop it down. You're good. Do it.
All four of the trikes that we have out here today are dedicated trikes, meaning that you can't pull this off. You can't pull the engine off in a frame and go strap it on your back and foot launch. It is dedicated to the trike, and these are dedicated trike engines. We've got engines ranging from 36 to 44 to 50 to 65 horsepower. And believe it or not, Fly Products actually has larger engines options available, such as the Zongshen C80 and the Rotax 912 UL, which are 80 horsepower, but those are way too heavy for our regulations here in the US, so we don't have one of those to show you today. So right here we've got the Xenit Cosmos 300 dual start, dual spark, 36 horsepower trike. Now, you guys are going to see we have lots of videos on the Xenit trike and the differences between the Xenit and the Eco 2. Let's talk about that first. First off, the Xenit is about 20 pounds lighter trike frame than the Eco 2 trike. But the big difference, some of the big differences are the Xenit is completely foldable, meaning that you can, in about 20 minutes, fold this entire trike up and it can fit into the back of, let's say you've got a big SUV, you can fold the seats down and fit it in back, you can fit it into the back of a pickup truck with a cap. Even if you have a small trailer and you just want to fold the wheels in and take the cage off but not fold it up completely, you can also fit it inside of a small trailer. It is lighter weight compared to the Eco 2. It's not quite as ground stable as the Eco 2, but it's still very, very good. So the Xenit with the Cosmos 300, I'm going to tell you guys, this is the engine that we put the most time on by far. This is the workhorse engine. This is what we use for a vast majority of tandem work, and we do a lot of tandem work here at One Up Adventures. We do a lot of tandem trike courses. We do a lot of trike beginner courses. So a lot of the students' initial training is going to be in this trike, where they're learning how to kite with the instructor and back teaching them how to kite. So we're basically doing a lot of dual instruction. Some of the advantages, although this is our lowest horsepower engine, it's an extremely well-supported engine, the Viterazzi Cosmos 300. I mean, as you guys know, anything Viterazzi, it's they're very reliable. If you do have a problem, the service is excellent and it's very easy to get parts for. The disadvantage is, because it's only 36 horsepower, is if you were a 250-pound instructor and you had a 250-pound student, this engine's going to struggle, and that's at sea level. If you're at altitude, it's really going to struggle to be appropriate for you. So it does work for most of what we do and for most of our average size Americans, and I'm the heaviest of our team at 170. So it works for us really well. It's lighter weight, it's simple, it weighs about 193 pounds dry. So this is our daily driver and this is what we go for.
So let's talk a little bit about the Xenit Cosmos combo. There's really not much that you're going to need beyond this particular combination. The Cosmos has 36 horsepower and it's going to be your average trike for doing tandems consistently. So if you don't have extenuating circumstances where your passengers are much heavier, or maybe you're not too much heavier of a pilot, or you're not flying in high altitudes, this is going to be the trike that will match pretty much any needs that you have. So the 36 horsepower on this Cosmos is more than enough for almost any pilot. The really nice thing about the Cosmos is it's a Viterazzi engine. Viterazzi backs their motors really, really, really well. So if there's ever a warranty issue, they're going to look into it and they're going to get you taken care of. Between Viterazzi and Sky Sports and Fly Products, the support is there. So we know that that motor is going to work. We know that it's going to be taken care of if for some reason you have something that doesn't. So altogether, we've had 3 Cosmos engines at this point, and we've put well over 300 hours on our Cosmos, and we've been very fortunate, very happy, and it's run really, really well for us. Now, I will say we do have a customer that has 2 Cosmos, and each of them has 300 hours plus on each separate motor, and he has not had any issues with his. So I think that's a really, really good statement about all of the Vitarazi engines, especially this Cosmos 300. I fly it for tandems all the time, and I've been super duper happy with it because it's smooth. The progression throughout the throttle is extremely linear, and you don't feel any power band. You don't have that lag where at one level you are having issues keeping power, and it's linear throughout the weight ranges. So we've been super duper happy with that. The other thing too is with this trike, it's a fairly light trike. If we were using it on rugged terrain, I would probably opt for the Eco 2 because it is a little bit wider wheelbase and it is a little closer to the ground, a little heavier, more rugged. But for everyday use here at the airport, where the airport manicures the lawn, essentially, I don't need anything other than what we're flying right now. You can't go on a tandem trike and not have snacks. Every time I fly with Kyle, I wonder, why did I agree to fly with Kyle? I think I just spit on myself.
Here we've got the same trike frame, the Xenit trike, but this has the Sky Zeus 300E 44 horsepower liquid cooled twin cylinder boxer electric start and pull start engine on it. We are super excited about this engine. The difference between 36 horsepower and 44 horsepower between the Cosmos and the Sky Zeus 300E is significant. And the weight of the Sky Zeus 300E compared to the Cosmos is actually, we weighed it the other day and this trike was 8 pounds less. Now, we also made sure the fuel was the same, but this trike has a few components on it. This one does not. They're mainly electronic and lights that we don't have on this trike. So I'm gonna call it actually probably pretty much break even or within 2 pounds, the weight between the two trikes. But that extra 8 horsepower is really, really nice. This is a trike that when I fly tandem with somebody who's 170 pounds or less, I don't need to pull out the 42 wing. I can pull out the 34 and I can still climb really, really well. It's smooth as butter. That twin cylinder boxer design makes this an almost like absolute zero vibration engine. It almost feels like it's electric. The throttle is very linear. It's very nice. Fuel burn is going to be very similar to a Cosmos, maybe a little bit more. But we're really excited to have this engine. But I want to mention, we've had this engine now for a month, and we have maybe, because of events and stuff, 5 to 6 hours on it. So what we don't really know personally is much about the long-term potential issues that this engine could have. Now, we did do our due diligence. We did talk to people who have been using the Zeus 300 engine over a number of years, and they've been very happy with it. They haven't reported any significant maintenance issues or problems getting parts and components from Sky Engines. And we did do that before we purchased this engine and put that on this trike. But we want to get three months at least on this engine and make sure that we don't have any issues, and we haven't yet. And right now it just makes us smile every time we fly it. And this one, yes, if you were a 250-pound pilot and you had a 300-pound passenger, if they could fit in the seat, this one will take them in the air at sea level and even at 5,000, 6,000 feet density altitude without a problem. So this is a very exciting product for us, and we're going to keep you guys updated on where this goes. And if we do have any issues with it, we'll talk about them, and we'll talk about how the support was. I can tell you so far we've been working with Sky Engines on a couple of different projects, and they've been fantastic. They've been super responsive, including the owner himself, walking us through minor issues that we had, like with assembly or setup or maintenance. We had another Sky Engine that we ended up needing an ignition coil for, and we diagnosed the issue, and within 2 days we had the ignition coil sent from Italy. So I don't anticipate any issues with parts and components with these engines. And if we like them, and I think so far we really do a lot, we're going to be stocking a lot of the parts and components for these engines so that we can help support them as well and have those parts here in the US.
This is quite the machine. First off, I want you guys to know we're flying this with a 34-meter Cyclone right now. And And why would you fly it with a 34-meter Cyclone? Because normally we fly our Xenit Tandem with the 42. Well, the reason why is because this thing is 44 horsepower, which is a ton of power and more than enough to climb really nice on a 34-meter tandem wing on a tandem trike. So it makes it more fun, it makes it more maneuverable, and especially because we're doing some other filming this morning, we wanted to be able to be as fast as we could so we could get the shots that we're looking for. But easily the 34 with this engine is no problem. So in fact, we haven't even flown it yet with the 42. We've done all of our flying on the 34 Cyclone so far. Let me give you our first impressions. First, 44 horsepower is a ton. I mean, the Cosmos is a wonderful engine and it works well for most tandem pilots, but 44 horsepower, I know it's only 8 horsepower more, but that's 8 horsepower that is completely dedicated to your climb. This engine weighs about the same as a Cosmos, and we're going to weigh it later. I think they're going to be within a couple pounds of each other. So all that extra horsepower is climb. Secondly, the engine is super, super smooth. It is a dual cylinder boxer design. So you've got opposing cylinders up and down, and it makes it incredibly, incredibly smooth. It almost feels like you're flying electric. So like pretty much like really, no joke, zero vibration on this engine.
So I'm extremely impressed. My first flight on it, I didn't expect the amount of power that we were going to get out of it. And then, you know, we took it out today, and just starting it up to taxi it out to the field, I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot the motor's running because there's no vibration. And, you know, the Cosmos, the Atom 80, imagine both of those, but smoother, which is really hard to believe, but I guess with the 2 pistons, that would make sense. The amount of power is insane. The flying this with a 34 meter doesn't feel right, but it feels so good. So I know that's kind of a contradiction, but it's amazing. There is not a power band. I don't have any issues, no matter what RPM we're at, with any stuttering in the motor. At least not that I've noticed yet. The other thing is, you don't have to worry about if that power is going to be there when you add power in the throttle. It's immediate. So far I'm extremely impressed, and I'm looking forward to flying it a whole lot more because, I mean, it's really nice. I think this is going to be my new machine.
I don't think I'm going to get to fly this much because Allie, I believe, in her mind has already stolen it.
I have already taken it away.
Okay, now we're over to the Eco 2 Light Trike. Now the Eco 2 Light, like I said, is about 20 pounds heavier than the Xenit Trike, but this trike is longer, wider. Just, if you want to talk about commercial grade, it doesn't get any more commercial grade with this. If we've got some other videos, if you look at the build quality of the tubing, the solid aluminum milled axles, just the way this thing is built, it's built like a truck, and it makes it very ground stable. It makes it very comfortable. It makes it very damage resistant. It makes it very hard to roll over in the first place if you get kind of wonky with the glider. So we love this trike for the room, for doing tandems. It gives us a little more room between pilot and passenger. We can take up big people with it without an issue. It's very ground stable. It rolls over rough terrain really nicely, and it's just a super comfortable trike. So let's talk about the engine. We went from 36 horsepower on the Cosmos to 44 horsepower on the Sky Zeus 300E on the Xenit, and now we're up to 50 horsepower. This is the RMZ 500 twin-cylinder air-cooled engine with a belt redrive. We're also moving from a 150 to a 160 centimeter prop when we get to the Eco 2. That's going to make the transmission of the engine horsepower into thrust more efficient. I'll tell you guys a story on this engine. We had a student that was just about 400 pounds a year and a half ago, And so we didn't expect him to be that heavy when he showed up for training. And so we had to think about how we were going to do his tandem flights. We actually use this exact trike right here. We had to move the whole A-assist forward a little bit so you get the hang points far enough forward to balance his weight and my weight in the back and make sure everything was good. But I did 13 tandem flights with this 400-pound student, and I'm 170, and it didn't even struggle at all. It was like not a big deal. We had a really nice climb. Sure, we had a little bit of a longer takeoff, but once we were in the air, the climb on it was very nice and it was very comfortable. I'll talk about the ARM Z500 engine, and we do have these available in stock right now, ready to ship. Basically, the ARM Z500 is a clone of the Rotax 503, which has not been made since 2002. The 503 was a very good engine. The 582 is an excellent engine. Rotax has since stopped production of two-stroke engines, and they're focusing on their four-stroke line, which is the 912, 914, 915, 916. And we're talking about way more expensive engines that start at like $20,000 just for the engine. So for value, this has been an outstanding engine. We've had this particular unit for a number of years now. Every time we do a trike course, we always have a minimum of, we always have 2 students, I should say. And so we always are teaching them at the same time. So we have the Xenit trike and we have this trike, and they're both running simultaneously when they're going through their initial instruction. So this one also gets a lot of hours on it. Anytime we get a tandem student who's, over, I would say 220 pounds, we prefer to pull this out because it's just got way more oomph to it. It's more comfortable. It's easier for that person to fit in it. It's easier for us to take off and climb, and it's been really nice. The engine itself, again, it's a belt redrive. It runs very smoothly. It runs very well. It's been very reliable. We probably, I'm guessing, have about 120 hours on this engine right now. 0 issues, never a problem. Next door to us, Aviator PPG has this exact same trike with a geared redrive, but it's the same engine. And they had over 600 hours on theirs last time I talked to them, before they finally had a small issue with, I think it was like a fan or the electric start bracket broke, and they had to repair that. But other than that, they had no issues with the engine. So this is what we would consider a pretty bulletproof engine because of its size, 500 cc's, twin cylinder. And the way we use it, you're really not loading the engine hard. It's not working hard. It works really, really well. The disadvantage of this engine is, of course, it's a heavier engine. So you're getting 50 horsepower for an engine that's probably, I would say, 30 pounds heavier than, let's say, a Zeus 300E at 44 horsepower. So in the power to weight ratio range, we're looking at numbers that are going to be pretty close. But when you start adding pilots and passengers and everything else, this is still going to be a little bit more powerful as far as power to weight ratio goes. So this particular trike is the premier model, which means it has all the fancy stuff, the engine health monitoring system, which is all digital, the digital altimeter and vertical speed indicator. It's got the cockpit with the controls for all of that. It's got the controls in the cockpit for the Skyflower 3-position lighting system. And it has a Camelli ballistic reserve that is rated to 475 kilograms. So you can put the biggest people that'll fit on this trike, and that ballistic reserve still has enough capacity to carry their weight and the weight of the trike as well. It is also a dual start, so you've got pull start if you need it, and we also have electric start. I can't remember ever needing to pull start this engine once. The electric start's been very reliable and it works really well.
Little nose high, I think.
Oh my Lord, help me. What?
We're gonna climb good. So for serious trikes, for serious pilots, this is the Eco 2 Lite. And I use this trike mostly in training. Ali actually uses a Xenit, which you'll also see in this video. But the Eco 2, it's not gonna break down like the Xenit would, but it is going to take the heaviest loads and the biggest people, and it's great if you're at altitude. So that's one thing with this engine. So on this Eco 2, we have the RMZ 500. You can also get it with the Rotax 582, the Cosmos 300, and the Zeus 300. But this trike is going to be more for those guys that are at higher altitude, maybe you've got a heavier passenger weight and a heavy pilot weight, this is the trike that you're going to want to be on. It has a lot more room up in the front here, and it just makes it a lot easier to use for those pilots that are a little bit bigger and you want the extra raw power. Now, this engine is not as smooth as a Rotax 582. You're also saving thousands of dollars by getting this engine. We have well over 100 hours on this particular engine. Aviator PPG actually has the same exact trike with an RMC, and they have over 500 hours on theirs and no issues. The only issues that they have had have not been engine related. So it's a real testament to the engine and how reliable the engine actually is. Behind Allie here, I know it's hard to see, but behind her right shoulder, there's actually a switch, or it's a lever. It looks like a choke lever. That's a cruise control. So you can just turn that cruise control knob and leave it at wherever you want when you're flying. And then you don't have to have the throttle in your hand to actually fly. So if you're doing a long cross country, something like that, it is a great option to have on your trike. Another cool feature of this trike, the ballistic reserve right on the bottom. It has a ballistic reserve, and there is an orange handle right there. And you can just take that handle and pull it, and the ballistic reserve will just shoot right out. Having all of the extra space on this trike is a really good bonus. We've taken passengers in this trike up to 400 pounds with a pilot weight of 170. So all up weight is about 570 pounds with the pilot and the passenger, and it still had no problem. It had plenty of get up and go, and that's with the RMZ 500.
So overall, this really is a super powerhouse. It's been around for quite some time. It's the Rotax 503 copy.
Yes.
And it's been on the market for quite a while. We've seen a lot of pilots that have been very happy with it. And overall, I'd say that it's just performed well. And I think you could probably run this thing over with a truck, and it would require some small repairs. And oh, you found a snack.
I found a snack. You just watched one of these gluten pieces are going to hit Allie in the face, and then my pilot's going to pass out.
I would say that anybody who is less than 5 feet is probably going to want to stick with a Xenit Trike.
Yeah, I agree. On this trike, I know you can reach the pegs, and you're what?
I'm 5'4.5".
Oh, I was going to say 4'9". So, yeah, that's close enough. So 5'4.5", and, you know, her feet, let's see here. I got to put my food down. Her feet are just barely on those front pegs there. So, and I'm about 5, let's be generous, I'd say I'm 5'9", but in reality I'm like 5'8 3/4", and I have no problem at all. So that is another consideration that you need to think about when getting a trike such as the Eco 2 Lite.
There are a lot of harness adjustments to this particular trike that you can do. And we've kind of found a little bit of a hack, and we've added in
The seat board.
Yeah.
Well, it's back there, but
under my butt. It's
what,
a seat cushion.
Yeah, it's actually just a, is it a driving seat cushion, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a seat cushion that you would put in your car, and you can get them in different thicknesses between 1 inch to 5 inches, and I believe that's a 4-inch seat cushion. And I use it every day because if I have a passenger who's a little bit taller, even though this seat can adjust up and down, it allows me to see over the passenger, or at least see through this window between their head and their shoulders. And that really helps for being able to see when you're coming into land, because that's something we're going to do here shortly, and it's kind of important.
Oh my gosh, that hang point, no!
Yeah, so the hang point is set for me in the back and then passengers of about 200, not Allie in the back and a passenger weight of me at like 50 pounds. Doesn't really work that well. But it still flew just fine.
Okay, last trike. This is the Eco 2 Lite with the Rotax 582 65 horsepower engine. This engine is twin cylinder, liquid cooled, gear rear drive, and what this one doesn't have next to us, it has a clutch. So when we start this engine, that prop's not turning and the clutch engages when the RPMs start to come up. So I mean, while it's not absolutely necessary to have a clutch, it is kind of nice in some situations to have that. So when the engine's warming up, the prop isn't turning. 65 horsepower, I'm going to tell you guys, is ridiculous on a paramotor trike. There's at sea level, I will say there is no situation where you need 65 horsepower. It doesn't matter how heavy you are, how heavy your passenger is for tandem, you don't need 65 horsepower at sea level. Now, maybe if you guys are up at Colorado, you're flying out of Leadville, it's at 9,000 feet, and you and your buddy with a combined weight of 600 pounds, yeah, I'm gonna say at that point you probably need 65 horsepower, because 65 horsepower at 9,000 feet is gonna be significantly less horsepower due to the density altitude. This unit runs super smooth. The Rotax 582's got a wonderful reputation. It's really sad that Rotax stopped producing the engine a couple years ago, but we do still have plenty of new Rotax 582, new engines in stock, ready to mount to these trikes if somebody wants it. This is kind of like the creme de la creme. I mean, this is crazy comfortable. Because it has so much horsepower, one advantage is, let's say me and Allie are doing a tandem on this trike, we're cruising at 4,000 RPM, which is nothing. It's so quiet. So it's almost like you don't even need the comm system. We can almost just talk to each other without the comm system, because it takes so little of the overall load of the engine just to maintain cruise when we're flying on this trike. It really is a really nice, smooth, amazing engine. It is the heaviest trike that we have out here. It is, because of that, it is going to be the most ground stable trike that we have out here, and the most comfortable trike, and it delivers that power very smoothly, and it's very linear. So, you know, the occasions that we do get to fly this, which is actually, this is a client of ours, it's not ours, but he leaves it with us. So he allows us to fly it whenever we want. So when we do get to pull this out every now and then to do some work with it, it kind of spoils us, because it's just a really, really nice machine. One thing I did mention that these engines are not made anymore, but the parts availability on Rotax 582s and the parts it is still like, there's plenty of it out there. Rotax is a very, very well supported engine. They're a worldwide company. They're well known. So if you ever do need a part for Rotax 582, there's a number of suppliers within the US that you can easily get them from. There's a number of airplane mechanics that are familiar with Rotax 582s, because these are used on light sport aircraft and other things. So it's not hard to find a mechanic that knows how to work on a Rotax 582. Right down the road, we've got Lockwood Aviation in Sebring, Florida, which is kind of like the experts in the country on Rotax and the major part supplier on Rotax within the USA. So not a major concern. Luckily, the only part that we ever had to change on this wasn't even a Rotax part. It was the Sprag clutch for the Fly products, and it wasn't a big deal to change. But I'd say that's it. That's the only issue we've ever had, except for we let the gas get bad one time, and so we had to drain the gas out and put fresh gas in it in order for it to run well and run as we had expected to run.
Woo. Ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Good morning. Nice job, Allie.
Hey, thanks. Girls know how to fly too.
So this is the Rotax 582. This engine is no longer in production by Rotax, as they are now focusing on their four-stroke options. However, we do have quite a few of these brand new, still in stock, both here and in Italy. So we are going to be offering this engine on the Eco 2 for some time, and it's going to be supported by Rotax for quite a bit of time in the future. Now this is like the Cadillac of paramotor trikes, not only the Eco 2, but the Rotax 582. Normally we cruise at about 4,000 RPM, which is really quiet. This is a 65 horsepower, twin cylinder, dual ignition, which means each cylinder has 2 spark plugs and 2 ignition systems and a liquid cooled engine. So with 65 horsepower, it is way, I mean, it is, it's like more power than you could possibly need, unless you're like 2 big guys and maybe you're flying tandem up in like Leadville, Colorado, where it's 9,000 feet. Then you're going to want this kind of power. This is the second to largest trike offered by Fly Products, only to be outdone by the Luna trike, which is kind of a whole different animal, flown solo from the front seat, where this is more traditional paramotor trike. The glider clips into normal carabiners. It's flown solo from the rear seat, and the passenger sits in the front. It's super heavy duty. You can see my arm is grabbing onto the stainless steel frame. Through the stainless steel frame is also a steel cable, and that steel cable goes all the way through and attaches to the back frame, and that's just the backup. I mean, this is super, super heavy duty material, but if there ever was a failure of the material, the cable is going to keep you attached to the motor and to your harnesses, and is there for safety. In addition, this is the Premier version, so it does have a 475 kilogram Camelli ballistic reserve. That's got a 3,000 PSI charge behind it and a handle over the pilot's left shoulder. Let me see if I can show that handle. Behind Ali's shoulder is the handle. You just pop that handle, and that reserve is going to come out at somewhere around 100 miles per hour and instantly open for you. So really nice if you ever do need a reserve. Just reach up over the left shoulder, pop the handle, and that reserve is going to open instantly. And like I said, it's rated for 475 kilograms, which means that's over 1,000 pounds, and we're nowhere near that weight right now, so plenty of capability of the reserve. The other options in the Premier package are the cockpit, which includes the right now it's got the Fly Henry engine health monitoring system, which gives you information on your EGTs for each cylinder, your water temperature, your ambient temperature, your RPMs, and your battery voltage, and some other information. We also have the Flybox altimeter and vertical speed indicator. So I don't know if I can show that at all, but I'm going to try to show some of the cockpit here. Let's come in another way. Okay, there we go. So there's a cockpit view of our information that we have at our fingertips. We also have, where's the Skyflower control?
Right here.
Okay, so Allie's touching where the Skyflower control is. And so that controls our lights. So on this Premier Edition, our spars, I don't know if you can see that, maybe, maybe not. There's a light on each side, and that's a light unit. There's actually 3 lights within that unit. There's a forward strobe, there's a side steady white light, and on the right side, it's also a steady red light, and the left would be a steady green and replace them for the red. And then on top, there's also another just strobe light. So you've got 3 light units. The side units have 3 different lights combined in them, and then the top is the strobe. And those are definitely Part 103, very high visibility strobes that you can see for quite a ways away.
There's a lot of things to say about this particular trike. The really nice thing about it is that it's a robust trike. It's made for tandems. It's made for flying, adventure flying. It's made for landing in a little bit more rugged terrain. It's going to take more of a beating than what we're used to flying. So if I were to be, flying maybe out west, or if I was looking to fly camp, or I'm flying tandems all the time, this is the machine that I would probably pick. It flies extremely well, and because it is a bit heavier and a wider wheelbase, it has more stability than any other trike that I've flown so far. So I'm really, really happy with it. Also, flying this Rotax 582, I'm barely using any throttle, and we are just cruising. Granted, neither of us are very heavy, but we are just cruising around, and I don't have to hold much throttle at all. The other really cool thing that this particular trike has is there's a cruise throttle right behind my shoulder. So if I don't want to hold the throttle in my hand for a really long cross country, I can reach up right here and I can modulate power. So my hand is off the throttle on my left hand, and I can change power setting just by pulling this overhead cruise throttle. So I'm going to let back off of that and go back to hand control.
Hey, Allie, can you turn the Skyflyer lights on? I know it's daytime, but maybe we can see what those look like.
Put the sky flash strobes on. All right, we should have sky flash strobes flashing right now.
Okay, we can see the green light. And not sure on camera if you guys can see the top strobe. I just can't get this thing to reach out far enough really to see everything, but that's okay.
But they're definitely bright enough to see during the day. Without a doubt, somebody will be able to see you.
The left one? All right, let me unzip this thing.
No air flight would be complete without snacks.
All right, look at that. We got a banana. Nice thing about an open cockpit aircraft like a Trike is you can take your biodegradable products like this banana peel and just chuck it on the ground. This engine, the Rotax 582, is only available on our two top-level Trikes, and that would be this Trike, the Eco 2, and it is also available on the Luna Trike. Now, Fly Products has some even more powerful, larger engines also available on the Eco 2, but those are definitely not going to be within Part 103. But if you plan to take your Trike outside of the U.S. and fly it elsewhere where it is legal, then we also offer the Zongshen C80 and the Rotax 912 engines. Both those engines are 80 horsepower, 4-stroke engines, and they are quite a bit more expensive. You guys can go online and just look up the price of a Rotax 912 and you'll see why. But they are available. The Zongshen C80 is basically a Chinese clone of the Rotax 912. Same specifications, but of course it's going to be less expensive than the genuine Rotax engine. All right, we got to fly over Kyle and drop him our banana peel. Ooh, we're going to hit pavement. There we go. Nice.
And as far as Trike frame parts for all these Trikes, the Eco 2 Lite and the Xenit Trike, we here at Fly Products USA keep a very large supply of spare parts in stock, especially the common ones. So if you were to, for example, accidentally roll over your Trike, again, very hard to do on these large tandem Trikes that are for serious tandem pilots. But if you do, and you need a cage section, or you need a cage, or you need a spar, you need a wheel, you need an A-assist bar, we have all of this stuff in stock. And if it happens to be something that we don't have in stock, we can call the team in Italy and we can have it to us or direct to you from there in just a matter of a few days. You want to be in the video? So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, we have a lot of options. Fly Products has the broadest range of Trikes. We're not showing you the Flash Cruiser. We're not showing you the Foxy Trike. We're not showing you the Vertigo Trike because this Trike is about serious tandem Trikes, but we have a very broad range of options available, and they've been in business for 30 years. And we've got other videos showing you the quality, the welds, the way these things are put together. And I think if you watch that and you take a look at some of the other options that are out there on the market, it'll become pretty obvious that this is next level quality stuff that they've been doing for many, many years. And these are Trikes that are gonna last you a very long time. And we see that. We go to fly-ins and I see Fly Products Trikes that are 20 years old that are still flying. And we get calls from customers that have Trikes that are 20 years old and they need parts for. And guess what? We can still get them parts for that 20-year-old model of their Trike, because if it's not on the shelf in Italy, they'll quickly fabricate it for them. So you're always gonna be taken care of. This is a company that's been in business for a long time. We want you guys to know that. And again, call us if you have questions. Thank you for watching.
And we didn't die.